Triple Trio with Hutchi R S Dye and Terry Bailey and Faricho. It's Hong Kong racing with the blinkers off.
Hello everyone, great to have your company on this week's edition of the Triple Trio and Mr. Trio himself, Clint Hutchison. Hello mate, how was your week? How's the week looking ahead?
The week gone has been very good. We had enjoyed a nice weekend. And of course, Wednesday was a little bit tougher. But just before we get into the show, Terry, something came across my path during the week involving yourself and, of course, one of the, Australia's leading race callers, and Matt Hill will be calling the
greatest.
The greatest. He is the
greatest.
best. Have a look at this photo. Terry Bailey. What year was this, Terry? And what about that?
Well, I don't know what to say, really.
You had a bit more hair.
The guy that had the photo sent it to me and said, "Is that Matt Hill?" And I looked 25 times and I went, "I know it's Matt Hill, but that's not Matt Hill, the Matt Hill we know now." And then I realised what it was like to have hair. Maybe I should have cut the hair a lot earlier, Hutch.
I think so. I'm not sure about that look, but what about the gangster type look as well? You've got.
I was very much into the black. Yeah, I wanted to be, sort of a jockey, so I put the black on. Shane, hello, Shane.
I'm here.
I noticed you've got the black on today.
Dark bluey grey, black. It's not quite black, but it's bluey grey.
How are you, mate? How's your week been?
Lost last Sunday, but won on Wednesday night, so not too bad. It's going to rain a lot up here. It's overcast and raining outside now, so it's not looking good up here.
No, it's raining everywhere just about at the moment. We're waiting to see what happens tonight with our big 2-day program coming up, heading with the Manikato and the Cox Plate. Okay, last week, good week, Hutch. You and Shane, you were ripping into them and you got a few bullets home.
Yeah, look, the best bets continue their good run, which I'm happy about. Of course, Island Golden was our best on the weekend. This was his first start. He didn't beat much. The race just rated okay. I think that the wind was a bit of a factor. He was certainly really heavily backed. He was... in the black odds overnight in Hong Kong, but they backed him into $1.60 and he never really had too many worrying moments. We liked Packing Treble. We mentioned him on the show last week, TB, as one of the better bets of the day, and he was given a nice ride, parked in a nice spot there for Zach Purton and got a reasonable price about him. And then we didn't, a couple of little photos didn't go away on Wednesday, but this was our best and it was excellent peers, and he was given a lovely ride. It was an easy watch if you were aboard him. We had another track pattern on Wednesday, which we'll discuss a little bit more later. But, we're happy to keep the best bets going, and it was an overall pretty good week.
Okay, we've got plenty coming up on the show. We've got Out of the Gates. We've got a couple of good interviews. Jye McNeil's going to join us as well. We've got your Sweden defeat file, which is very controversial sometimes. I think it is anyway. And then Shane's got Genius or Slaughter. That's my favourite segment.
Yes,
I love
it's
that.
everyone's favourite segment.
I love that. Yes, I really do enjoy that. We've got Plays of the Week. We've got the big preview coming up. As I mentioned, Jye McNeil's going to join us as well.
The first thing we're going to cover, of course, is the win from California Spangle, Shane. And look, it wasn't too much of a surprise. He started shorty. As you said last week, he was always going to get his own way. I think the win was a factor on the day, and I don't know if it really helped horses back on the inside all that much around the heads, the turn and head, the straight. But look, he was just far too good, and he won as the market suggested.
He was never going to get beat, Clint. There's just no pace in the race. The only other one is KU Star, but it's taken away the pace when Tony tells him not to lead, so he's too good. It's going to be very interesting in 2 weeks with Golden 60. Can Golden 60 give him a start and pick him up? He's the king. I still think he can beat him, Clint.
Yeah, look, it's an interesting sort of setup because he'll be third up, rock hard fit. I'm not sure he was exactly in their ideal spot on the day, California Spangle, and he's going to be leading and probably get his own way even more so next time they meet. I think it's going to be a great race. There's no doubt about it. Of course, we had Golden 60 as well trial during the week, and look, he trialled well. He's obviously prepped up beautifully. It'll just be, I think, interestingly enough, I think barriers will play a little bit of a part because if he draws low, he can just probably settle that length or two closer. If he draws wide, Vincent's just going to go right back, isn't he? So I think it's an interesting setup.
Very true. If he draws wide, he just goes back and it doesn't matter. If he draws in, he'll be 4 lengths closer probably.
And then this was the trial from Romantic Warrior. And I thought, of course, he's another one that we're going to see step out shortly. And he was last year's Derby winner, for those who don't know, and match motors with California Spangler. But he seemed to trial pretty well, Shane, I thought.
Trialled very well. And James McDonald's coming to ride him, I see, for the 2 meetings. So that's interesting.
Quick question, boys, if you don't mind me butting in as I'm learning as we go along on the show. Do you have tactical changes in Hong Kong where you have to notify the stewards, Shane, like you do here in Australia, which is a bit of a Clayton's rule?
It's the best thing that ever happened to me, because I used to go in before the race and tell them I'm doing this. And they can't say anything to you when you do it. After the race, you just say, well, I told you I was doing it before the race. So you can't get into trouble. I think it's very good. You just go in and tell the stewards. They don't notify it, though, in Hong Kong. I think it's wrong when they notify it, because sometimes it can't happen. Sometimes you want to go forward, you might miss the start, you can't go forward, or sometimes you go to ride them back and they go too hard and you're pulling and you go forward. But I think it's a very good idea. When you make a change, you go and notify the stewards before the race.
Yeah, I think what's happened in the past, TB, years ago, they did have a similar rule to here in Australia in terms of you have to notify the stewards, which is still the case in Hong Kong, and as Shane said, but they were publishing them. But there was a blow up around that time. I don't think Chief Stock Kim Kelly's a massive fan of releasing that information. As we know, they're not tactics if everyone knows, but you've obviously got to do the right thing and notify the stewards, but they don't go and broadcast it. So it's a gamble, and I'm agreeing with that. I mean, that's part of the game we live in.
Sometimes you see a race and the horse has gone back at its last couple of runs, but in this race it can go forward because it has done in the past. So I think it's only when you have a major tactical change, something that's totally out of the unusual.
But I don't think you should be broadcasting it. I've always been against that, even though I'm a punter now and I would like to know. Because you're taking that advantage away from your own connections, your trainer, your jockey, your horse. If you go in there and tell everyone else knows, so it's not an advantage. You make a tactical decision before the race to help your horse, right, to win. But if you go and tell everyone else, well, then that helps everyone else and not you. So I don't think they should ever broadcast them.
It's a tough one, isn't it? Because you've got the transparency side of it, and then you've got riding and tactical side of it as well. And Shane, you're 100% right, but then you're right as well, Hutch, with the transparency for punters. Hey, listen, the International's coming up shortly, boys. It's zooming in. I've been there once before when Monopolise won his second bowl for Darren Beedman. It is special to be there.
Yeah, very special week. And so we've got some big names, actually, didn't we? And as you'd expect, but Shane, we had that COVID period for a couple of years, and now we're sort of we're back in the game again. These are some of the bigger names that have been entered to win in the various races in the VARs. Well, I'm not sure if Durston will go there, of course, after the Caulfield Cup or after the Melbourne Cup, wherever it may be. But look, Japan are really well represented. Gee, there were some huge numbers from Japan that have been entered as well, Shane. So it'll be good this year. I mean, they've really. I think Eva, the CEO, Winfried, has mentioned that he wants to go all out and get everyone back, and hopefully that will signify, sort of times of change of Hong Kong from the last couple of years.
Well, the prize money is very big, Clint, now because of the dollar. The American dollar is going up, and so is the Hong Kong dollar. So the Aussie dollar's dropped, the pound's dropped, everything else is dropping. So these races are worth a lot of money now, whereas when the dollar is stronger overseas, not as much. Japan are always there, you know that. Aussie horses can't be competitive in the 2,400 or 2,000 metres, you wouldn't think. The Europeans seem to dominate with the Japanese, and they probably will again in the 2,400 metres, Clint.
Yeah, it looks that way. But we'll have to, you get this huge list more often than not when in normal times, Terry, and then it whittles down in the next few weeks. But, hopefully some of those bigger names from around the world will end up going there, because it's just an amazing week.
Would Nature Strip go there, do you think? Because what's for him after the carnival, really? And
they entered him before and he never went. I don't know. I'm not sure. Maybe. I mean, the fact that they've gone to the UK and come back, and it's an easier trip to Hong Kong, that's for sure. And it's a firmer deck for him. He's pretty good.
Shane mentioned that the prize money's good, so there is something. What did you see he's running in the Everest, Shane?
Yeah.
Nature Strip.
Well,
was that just an arrogant ride by McDonald and it just didn't eventuate?
No, the horse just didn't go measure up to what he should have probably, and what he can. He can always do that. I've never seen a great horse like him get beat so often odds on. He's always beatable, that horse. But if you get the real Nature Strip, you can't beat him. There's two of them. He just didn't go to what he normally can. Like, he drew gate 12. He's not easy to ride. He's very, very hard to ride, that horse, because he can pull and over race. James kept him out of trouble on the best part of the track, but just the last 100 metres he was wanting.
Interesting, even a lot of the discussion from the leading analysts around as well. Second up, he can often dip that horse. He often just comes off his peak. His fresh form's good. Third and fourth up, he seems to really elevate. But it was probably just the way the race unfolded. But what a story with the winner, Giga as well.
Just imagine if he went over to Hong Kong and was able to knock a race off over there, or went overseas. He's a gelding. We're going to have a racehorse show. We're going to have a horse we can see.
Yeah, he's very good, isn't he? And he's improved every single run. He's young. If he stands up, he's going to be very successful for a long period of time because he's a gelding, as you say, Terry.
And those two are renewing rivalry, we're hearing, in 3 weeks' time at Flemington. So
Beautiful.
I wonder if they'll go again.
And both are Flemington horses as well.
And we hope that they'll I'd love to see him there and then go up to Hong Kong and take him on over there as well. It'd be brilliant.
Actually, you and I can be his chauffeur on the way. Okay, now time for Sweet in Defeat with Hutch.
Sixth generation, Miraculous Honour, Super Sunny Sing and Regent Glory all in a line. He's going to dig into an empty hole here because Super Sunny Sing has grabbed him, but Super Sunny Sing.
Okay, Hutch, what are we looking at?
Oh, well, look, there were a few nice runs from the last week that we just saw go by as well, Sweet and Defeat files, and most of them are pretty similar. We've got Adafil, who sat back in a race where they went steady and sprinted home, so he settled last. He rattled home really well. Happy Day, much the same applies. Good Buddy drew awkwardly, and they rode him negatively, which you can understand from the barrier, but he worked home really well. Look, and I thought Pretty Queen Prawn from earlier in the week, he's already won one this season, but I didn't mind his run during the week in a race that was some performance from Gold Baby. The first one we're going to take a look at, those Happy Day. Look, he settles back here. The tempo of the race was steady enough, but I liked his performance. I don't know if he needs to be quite as far back going forward, and it was a race where we saw those sort of prevail from a little bit closer to the speed. Happy Daily back towards the inside, but he let go TB really well. I like the way that he attacked the line. His closing sections were some of the best of the day. Shane, he wanted to lay in a bit, but I think he's a winner not too far away.
Yeah, first up from a wide gate, he was caught 4 wide and pushed off the track at the 600. And then the other day he drew wide again. They've got no option back to go back. He needs a good gate. Here's your other horse.
Yeah, well, this is a race we're going to topic about, like Gold Baby. I wanted to take him on because I thought he'd be just too far back in the run. A couple of things about the Valley at Wednesday night. Look, sweeping wide around the turn in the straight was a big plus as well, and you can see he's got to be 7 or 8 lengths off them at this stage. The stewards did, of course, interview Hewitson here about the pressing on. Look, he was always going to be 3 wide for mine. Did he go a little bit early? Perhaps he did, but I don't mind these sort of tactics, and I'll discuss them a little bit more with regard to Hero Star. But with the lanes that he's in, probably where you want to be. Does when he starts to get tired, shift out. Have a look at this win from Gold Baby, though. This is an incredible performance from a horse that got very tight for room late, and you can see him get buffeted around and hampered there late in the race, and he manages to get up and still win. So. Pretty Queen Prawn, I thought, was good in defeat there. He worked on a good speed, wide without cover. I think he was in the best part in the home straight. We didn't have anything on the fence once again, or on the inside 2 lanes in the straight.
With for you, Hutch, and also Shane, when we get a bunch finished, boys, do you say, don't know if I can really trust that form? What's your opinion there? Because most people would say when it's a bunch finish, generally on a big track in particular, the form's sus.
You get a lot of bunch finishes at Happy Valley, Terry. It's more the overall
track.
It's more so the time, I think, how the overall race rates. But you're right. You've got to always have a good look when you don't get big margins, I suppose, Shane, between sort of 1st and 6th or 7th or whatever it may be.
There was a race about 3 weeks ago. The thing that runs second on the inside at Sharton, 1400, I think it was unlucky. Remember it got held up, Clint?
Yes, it was Casa Papa.
And I said the form out of that race may not stand up. They come home very slow and they're all bunched. The form out of that race has been no good. So, yes, it can happen, Terry.
Let's go on now. My favourite segment, your favourite segment, Genius or Slaughter.
They sweep for home now. Baaeed Cross has come very wide. Baaeed Cross answering the urgings of Shane Dye. Mannerism coming at him. Mannerism has got it.
Daring tactics by Shane Dye. He's got Octagonal in full flight on the corner. Bold tactics by Shane Dye are going to pay off, and he pinches the Chipping Norton.
Okay, Shane, where do we start?
Sweden Counter last week. I thought this was a very good ride. I gave Alexi Bedell a pay about a month ago over Bundle of Charm coming across. And I said, you don't need to come across so fast. Now, I've explained on the show many a times, you just want an outside gate. These are why outside gates are always backed on leaders. He keeps him away from all the other horses, which is good. You relax. He's letting him get into a stride, but he hasn't pushed him. And he's not trying to get across and lead. You don't need to. You let the race unfold. I think they run about a 21.83, which is quite quick. But if he had bustled that horse early, there's no way he would have won. He gets to the first turn. He goes, right, I'm outside the leader now. And he comes back a neck to half a length to get him to relax. That is a perfect ride from an outside gate coming across. I think Alexi's riding really well. He's changed. He started the season in bad form and not riding well. Now he seems to be got the gift of the gab and he's riding really well all of a sudden and just on horses that are getting beat. This was a good win. He had the 135 pounds. He battled on to just win second up. What did you think, Clint?
No, I agree with you. I thought it was a great ride because I thought he might go forward and lead, but I was happy he didn't, given those sections you mentioned, Shane. But I liked the way the horse settled once he just used a bit of petrol to come across and then relax. And it also takes a good rider to do that. He was tough in a finish. We highlighted him last week, TB, as well as one of the ones we wanted to stick with, and we thought he'd be well suited, and he certainly was.
There's Alexi on Wednesday night on Legion of Merit. This is a good ride, nothing special, but he stayed to the inside. He didn't try and come around them here when he could have come out. He waited, and he cut the corner, which I believe you got to do. He come out here, pushed the horse a bit out of the way, and went boom. You know, they went too fast early. He can lead sometimes, this horse, but he was in the right spot. And he did it in the next race on Hercules too. He was back, come out, gave him a really good ride. He got beat ahead, but he had every chance. The winner was too good in that race. And John's using him, and he's only going to ride a lot of winners now with John behind him, and he's riding well.
I'll tell you the other good ride that he put together as well, Shane, which might go unnoticed as well, was in the last. I mean, like I've pointed out, I don't know how you felt, but for me in the straight, those inside couple of lanes weren't great. Most of the winners were sort of 4 to 8 off the fence. Yep. A lot of horses were running on, and Alexi led up on Yo-Yo Beauty, but he was one of the few riders of the night that angled off on the turn, and he stayed about that part of the track which he needed to be. And even though it was in defeat, I thought it was a very good ride.
It's not hard to work out the bias of the tracks when you're watching every race, and it's race 8 now. You should know that the inside's off. If you don't know that the inside's off by race 8, you never will, and you're not watching the races after the race to see where the best part of the track is. As I said, look, I'll give him a rap. I gave him a pay about a month ago, and he had hardly ridden a winner. And he was riding bad, but he's turned it round and he's riding really well. And he may just be the jockey that goes to the next level in Hong Kong and all of a sudden's up there running second and third on the premiership without Joe in town.
You say it is amazing, though, if you're watching these races. It's not always picked up, and it hasn't always been picked up over there, and a lot of them still don't pick it up. But hopefully it's something that they do, especially the riders, take note of, because you can see the ones that do and the ones that don't.
We've got our Genius and Slaughter tweet of the week. It comes from Sohail Race Quant. Sohail's talking about Hero Star. Shane, what's your opinion on this? Did they err with their riding tactics?
No, he had to jump. What cost Hero Star the race was Luke Curry early in the race. I even texted to Clint while the race was on. I backed this horse. I thought he'd get a soft lead. If you watch here, Luke dicks up inside of him and makes him have to work harder. And if he hadn't have done that there, that horse comes across, gets a soft lead and wins for sure. Now, did he go too fast down the back? Definitely, 100%. He ran a 21.97, which is just too fast. He didn't need to go that fast. I know, Clint, you said he's better rolling, but when he won his 2 races, he ran at Happy Valley when he led and sat outside the leader. He ran a 22.81 and a 22.75. That's 6 lengths slower. Right? So he didn't need to go this fast, and he did err by going too quick. But D'Souza did the right thing early in the race, but he was unlucky that Luke kicked up underneath him, which he's entitled to do, but that's what actually cost him the race.
Yeah, I don't entirely agree with a couple of things. Firstly, he did roll along. The track was playing very fast, Terry. So while you're referencing actual times, you've got to also take into account how quick the track was riding on the night. So he's probably still 5 lengths officially quicker than standard for the middle section. It's ridden 2 to 3 lengths faster, I think, for that particular section, or a couple of lengths faster. So he's still gone 3 lengths too fast. Now, what will back up what Shane has said, and I think we had a little discussion with the winning factor on Wednesday night, was in terms of him going too quick. And if you do the efficiency and that's finishing speed, he only went 95.7% in that race. So he has overcooked. He has gone too quick.
Visually, he looked to be going too fast.
He has. He always is very weak, no matter how you ride that horse in the concluding stages. In that final 50, he paddles. So what Silvestre de Sousa, and evidence of that's the start before, where the sectionals were more in line with what Shane said.
He's trying to get the others off the bit.
No, he went steady enough in that race, and they tried to hold him together, and he still got beat. He finished with 103% finishing speed there, so he got every favour there. I don't mind this from Silvestre de Sousa. He is trying to pinch a break on the other runners during the mid race, like a greyhound race. You hope they're all locked up in behind or skittled, and he pinches a break for a horse that can be very suspect late in the race. And I know he received a warning. He's entitled to. The sectionals will back up what the stewards have done. The sectionals will back up what Shane said.
Does that rider from doing something like that?
With this particular horse, he's been in similar races where they've gone steady and he couldn't do it. And he's been run down there. He's probably overdone it a fraction, but I don't mind it. I want jockeys to do something a little different and have a go.
Terry, I'll give you a class. This sums it up. Gallant Walking beat him 2 starts ago. Now, Gallant Walking's going a lot higher and won a Class 3 really impressively on Wednesday night. He came home in 22.16, I think, that day, Hero Star, and he cleared out from the rest of the field. And it took a very good horse who'll go to Class 2 probably, and Gallant Walking to beat him. Yesterday or on Wednesday night, he ran a 24.33, so he paddled and walked. And that's because he went too fast in the middle sections. Simple as that.
The other thing that he also did was, I don't know if we can put the last section of that race, what de Sousa did wrong in this race after going forward, he went back to the fence. We can just have a look at this head on. So we just mentioned about the inside not being as good. Now, how much did it cost him? I don't know. But every other single winner of the night was out wide on the course. And Joe used to do a lot of that last season. He'd come around the turn. Have a look at him around the turn here. Now, what he needs to do is what Alexi Bedell did in the last. You see he's rolling along here. So instead of the horse on the B track, as Shane will tell you naturally come off the fence there. He needs to angle out there 2 more. He's gone back to the fence.
But
back to the inside.
In all fairness to that, he may not have realised it was race 4 early in the night, and they were coming through the middle at that stage, a few of the races. So he may not have realised that the fence wasn't quite the place to be at that stage.
And he probably still doesn't win anyway, but it was a length. But yeah, I'm just saying that at the time. And we saw Joe do it a lot, I think, a couple of years ago. But that's just something for them to be aware of. He probably still doesn't win even if he comes out there. But I think just moving forward.
But Joe's never been a bias rider, Clint. He's never understood bias like Zach understands bias.
Just running off the track a little bit here. In Australia, we seem to jump. We go along for the first 300-400, and then we just put the handbrake on. The horse gets its head up in the air. They all, pile up behind. I hate that sort of racing, Shane. That can't be good for a leader.
Well, they go a lot faster in Hong Kong, and that's why a lot of the Aussie jockeys get lost when they go to Hong Kong. They're not quite adapted to the fast pace from the gates. But they do go a lot slower in Australia. Simple as that.
Okay, let's go to Whirlpool Racing now. We had the big British Championships Day on just recently. Well, as the great Freddie Mercury once said, another one bites the dust. He went down Baaeed, the 4's on favourite. What happened, Hutch?
Probably the ground, I suppose. I would imagine. It's disappointing because it was his final start. I'll leave it to them. I mean, I think we just create these days, we want horses to remain unbeaten. I mean, I'd hope he'd stay in training. He could come back and win again. It's one run show.
Glenn, can I just say something quickly while you're watching him? He's not striding out. He's got a problem. You can see his action there. He's struggling in his action, that horse. I don't blame the ground. He had a problem in front, and you can see him there. As soon as he come out to go, I said, that's not his stride. He's not unleashing like he normally does. He had a problem in front, that horse, because he's never been like that before. He quickens and he looks good doing it. And you can see there on that shot there that his action was just not striding.
I'll bow to Shane's superior knowledge in that facet, but he's a superstar anyway, whether or not he was beaten. I'm sure he could bounce back, but that's him done now.
And now superstar goes overseas, wrong time for her, wrong part of her career, and she doesn't really let anyone down. I don't think we really expected her to be a big stage performer at that stage of her career, given the autumn she'd been through, Hutch.
Yeah, I thought it was disappointing, of course, that they've gone over. They've gone over very late in her career, but of course, she's going to head off to stud now, which is I think it's really interesting actually in terms of the stud.
She's a great champion. She'll never throw anything, Hutch. They never do.
Oh, they never do. Well, let's have a look at that and just see what she should go to in terms of standing, because there's been a lot of discussion, and with Group 1 Goldmine.
What's she by Z?
This is a sensational tool that can. This is right in the wheelhouse with Group 1 Goldmine in terms of the best size to go to while she's over in the UK. And they've done an extensive analysis. They've matched them up with there's a lot of very good matches. But interestingly, the impact profile and the most likely, or the well above what the algorithm would expect to be the best result, is Camelot and Verry Elleegant. Of course, was Frankel, Teofilo, or other good matches. But they went through a whole list of them. And in terms of matching, which would be the best side to go to?
How has Frankel gone after he's gone? We've seen a lot of Frankel horses here in Australia. They need a little bit of time.
Oh, he's been an incredible. I mean, he's obviously had a fantastic mares, but he's been the leading sire in the UK and Europe for a while. Terry's been an unbelievable sire.
Held a lot of money on that meeting, Hutch, the British Champions Day.
Yes, it was very successful, I think, with the world pools and being able to play into it. So it's a great thing, and we're going to be a long season. We've got a lot of races to run through as well, Terry.
Okay, we've seen a couple of nice old knockdown Shane and Caulfield Cups from British riders over the years. Torpin's Melody, one that comes to mind, but you're going to show us an absolute cracker here.
Is this in England, the race? Or,
yes.
Watch this. This is a classic. Now, I don't understand what English racing's about. How this horse held the race is an absolute joke. It should have been put back straight away. Blue cap, 3 wide, Hollie Doyle. She got 3 meetings for this. You watch this. This is as bad as it gets, and I hate it because she had intent to knock them down to get on the fence and win the race. Watch her. She's looking around, blue cap, 3 deep, turns the horse's head in, boom, in there, and then she comes across again up here to not look, riding it along. Instead of coming back, the horse that is inside it gets checked. Look at this. Look at this. He's got to pull back 2 to 3 lengths, and it never got the race on protest. What are they thinking? What an absolute joke the stewards must be over there in England. She's 3rd on the fence now. Put this horse 3 lengths further back, and she got 3 days. This is nothing. She comes out here, gives that a bit of a bump. That happens every day. I don't mind that. She got 2 meetings for that. Now, you watch this, Clint. This horse here on the outside gets beat ahead. There's no protest. The stewards do nothing, and they give Hollie Doyle 3 meetings for that. She should have got a month at least. Oh, I couldn't believe it watching the race. I said, well, that won't hold the race. And what are they thinking, the stewards over there, Clint? Now, anywhere in the world, that horse is put back within 30 seconds. 30 seconds, and it held the race. How did it hold the race? Look.
Not only that.
Is she running it off the track there?
Well, it's incredible how, but I think that interference in the race, as Shane mentioned, I mean, you just can't do that. I mean, even with the fellow riders there, just gone from 3 wide lines straight to the fence, not a care in the world about those inside of you, and 3 days, and it's half a week. Half a week. How long would you get in Australia for that?
Terry, if she was in Australia, she would have got over a month for a big race and fined. Now, the other thing that stewards mustn't realise in England is she was 3 wide going around Ascot over 2 miles, which is a turning track. She had to be 3 wide. Now, here we go again. If she stays 3 wide, that's probably, and I'm not a genius with lengths, but I would say that would cost her about 6 lengths, right? She's ended up 3rd, third fence. So by doing what she did on purpose, right, she saved 6 lengths in the race. Whereas the other, and then she knocked this other horse down, which cost it.
Look at her looking.
Watch this. She's looking, and she turns her head in here, boom, and then doesn't care, digs it up here. Watch this. Instead of coming back, she digs it up, and just puts it out of the race and cost it another 2 to 3 lengths. Here, look, boom, goes back, had to check. That's 2 lengths. So that.
Good thing you got divided jockeys, room.
So how has that horse held the race? I've got no idea, and it's a disgrace to English racing that horse held the race. It should never have held the race. And if they can explain to me or anyone around the world why it held the race, I'll give up. I'll never look at another race again because that horse should have been put back.
First time I've seen it, Hutch, and I'm astounded. I just can't believe it. I've never seen anything so blatant.
They did a lot of interference over there, and they're pretty lenient a lot lot of the times. And one thing that
was dangerous.
One thing that we have had through Kim Kelly as well, who's in charge of sort of the international harmonisation of rules. This is the one thing that we do need in racing globally. We need the sport to be adjudicated in a consistent fashion, whether it be in England, whether it be in Australia or Hong Kong or Japan. And they've made headway, but we need more headway.
It's been very hard to do that in any sport, no matter what sport it is. The jurisdictions are just so different and they have their own perception of what the rule actually means.
Well, they've got to change because that was dangerous what she did. Yeah. And we've seen other instances where there's a lot of
But like Shane said, it was blatant. It wasn't like she made a mistake. She blatantly tried to knock that other horse over to get a position for herself. Like that's unheard of. You just don't do that.
No, it's a lot of respect.
Caulfield Cup, Shane. A couple of riders got put out. A couple of riders would sit at home and look at this replay and go, "Oh, I'll never want to watch that again," because there was some absolute screamers in it.
Okay, so I'll show you here. This is going out of the straight. What are we doing? The winner? This was a really good ride from the winner. This was a sensational ride. Mick D gave it a perfect ride. Back on the fence, come out, check the horse. Now he got, what did he get, Clint? 12 days?
Yeah, I'm not sure of the exact amount. I didn't write down.
Now this is the first suspension. How he got suspended, I've got no idea. He's going out of the straight. He's got Craig Newen in the white cap looking. He gets time for this here. Now, I think that's a joke. That's nothing, right? They lost no ground whatsoever. I've looked at 2 different shots. I saw nothing. The steward's got that wrong as far as I'm concerned. Now, this one here, he comes off the fence. He's a bit unlucky, Mick D. You'll see him back in the blue where we circled. And he just checks the horse outside him a little bit. He probably should have got time for this. I'm not disagreeing with this. You'll see him here. This was a really good ride. And he just comes to the outside here and he's just got to grab hold of this horse for a stride. He was never in trouble, that jockey. That happens most races, just grab hold. Very good ride. And he got, I think, 12 meetings for that. That wasn't reckless or dangerous. And he was trying to look after him but come out at the same time. Outstanding ride, that. Won the race. But that suspension, he had to get time for that. I'm not disagreeing with that.
Do you think for all metropolitan meetings, boys, here in Australia, probably Hong Kong as well, we need that overhead shot?
Oh, how good would it be?
Because then you can really see what really is happening without having to think too much.
Well, in Hong Kong, the stewards, they've probably got more angles than anywhere else in the world. So it's very, very well, some of those angles, they've got more.
The coverage is great.
They've got more coverage than anywhere else in the world, but that is the best shot.
Yep.
You only need one shot.
That's right. Only one
Shane,
look.
You only need one. If you're going to have one shot, it'd be that one.
Terry, the outside shot looking across from the outside in, where it is on every track, is a wrong shot a lot of the time. It's an optical illusion, and it looks as though the outside one's coming in and checking the rest, when a lot of the time it's actually not. But it's not a very good shot, and the stewards use that a lot. Now, the helicopter shot, if you put that down at the same time, you'll go, shit, it's not as bad on the outside horse as we thought it was. So,
and you can see the grids, you can see the lanes on the track as well, Shane, which even gives you more intent to be able to get the result correct.
Correct. Whereas on that side-on shot, it's an optical illusion and it's just not a true shot. Head-on shots are always good because you got the green of the grass and you can see that as clear as day. It's just around the bends. It's not sometimes the right shot.
I used to get access, Terry, when I was working for the Jockey Club in Hong Kong, with a lot of the stewards for every race. They'd have that many different angles at every different part of the track. And I can't tell you how different things look, and Shane would have seen it from his time when he rode there, how things look differently from certain angles that you look. You can look at an incident from one part and it can look like this horse has been at fault or rider, and you look at it from another side and you think, oh, actually, no, that's not what happened at all. I mean, you'd agree with that, wouldn't you, Shane, looking at some of the different angles that they have access to?
Definitely. Very true. That's why I always like to keep my mouth shut until I saw I never used to say too much until I saw the film.
Okay, time now for Star Power. A real star coming up in Jye McNeil. Well, our special guest is Jye McNeil, winner of the Melbourne Cup. Must have been an eerie Melbourne Cup. We'll talk about that in a moment. No crowds there. He's heading to Hong Kong very shortly. And Hutch, we're catching up with him. Jye, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Terry.
Tell us a bit how you got the application through to go to Hong Kong and ride a short stint.
I was approached by Terry Bailey, who is part of the stewards over in Hong Kong and in charge of the international riders. And he approached me with a 6-week riding stint there, and I'm really looking forward to heading over. It's
amazing sort of 18 months you've had, Jye. Of course, you were champion jockey in Victoria last season, and you've had, of course, the Melbourne Cup win, which we'll broach on shortly, but it's been a fantastic sort of 12 to 18 months for you anyway.
Certainly has, Hutch. Yeah, it's been, I guess, I feel as though my career really progressed in the 18 months better than I could have imagined, and I just kept taking the most of my opportunities and capitalising on, big wins and all the opportunities that came my way. And I've really enjoyed it so far.
I mean, we'll talk about the big wins. What about the Melbourne Cup? It was quite remarkable performance. And Terry, I think in however many years the Melbourne Cup's going, we've never had a leader make every yard of the running or every metre of the running, Jye. So you did something that no one else has been able to do.
Certainly did, yeah. It was...
Yeah, Might and Power might have done it.
Yeah.
But you did it in front of no one. That's the scary bit, mate. Your greatest ride you'll probably ever present in your career, and you did it in front of no one.
Yeah, well, I look back on it and I'm very grateful to have won a Melbourne Cup. And it's a question I get asked quite often. What was it like winning it without the crowd? And I say, well, I haven't won one with the crowd, so I don't know how to compare. But I hold on to the history of being the only winner to have won the Melbourne Cup without a crowd there, and it could potentially be a question or part of trivia moving forward. So I'll hold on to the history and be grateful for being able to win the Melbourne Cup.
The year before, the horse just had no turn of foot, so the crew came out with the different riding tactics, and that just excelled. It must have been eerie, but in a Melbourne Cup, 3,200 metres, Jimmy Cassidy, when he did it with Might and Power, was an experienced rider and a great front-running rider. You're still just a baby at this sport relative to the great Jim Cassidy, yet you pulled it off.
Yeah, it was something that I just had to back myself in, Terry, and I knew what my plans were going to be a long time before the Melbourne Cup. So I had, time to prepare, and my biggest sort of thought process going into it was what speed I should be going. I've never ridden in a Melbourne Cup before, let alone led one. And, I just wanted to get the balance right. And thankfully I was able to do so.
Jye, we talk about the pace and etc. We'll switch focus back to Hong Kong now. What are you most looking forward to with regard to going to Hong Kong?
A new challenge is going to be the thing I'm looking forward to the most. Riding different tracks against different riders that I haven't ridden against before, and creating hopefully more achievements and new experiences.
Jye, can I just pop in here very quickly? I've only done this podcast now. This is the third time I've done it, and I've been listening to Shane, who I'm absolutely in awe of. His knowledge is just mind-boggling, and he won't be humble about it. But he says that when Australian riders go over there, they really have no idea. Do you think you should give Shane a call and get some advice?
No, well, the biggest thing is they seem to sit deep in a lot of races, and that's just a no-no because in Hong Kong, the horses are so even. They're graded, like rating of 20 points. So they go across the line together. So you can't be 3-4 wide in races unless there's a bias on that track. And the other thing they seem to do is the pace. Jye, in Hong Kong, they go a lot faster. So you got to be aware of that. The biggest thing in Hong Kong for a new jockey going there is not the races, is track work. You got to get to track work every morning, and it's totally different to Australia. In Australia, you just turn up at track work. In Hong Kong, you don't do that. You book your track work times 2 days, 3 days, a day before. So the assistant trainers ring you. You book one horse at 6, the next at 6:15, the next at 6:30, and then you might go 6:40 or 6:50. It's all about the times. And the more track work you can ride there, the better rides you'll get and the more rides you'll get race day. And that's the biggest thing, the track work.
Jye, a chance, I suppose, now that we've looked at it's become official in terms of your stint there for that 6 weeks. That would obviously include the International Jockey Series there for that week. I'm not sure if they've made any announcements, but would the hope be potentially to be representing Australia against some of the world's best riders there in December?
Yeah, I believe that's correct, Hutch. I am going to be a part of the international meeting, which is something I haven't done before. So I'm also looking forward to experiencing that and being a part of that event.
Is there any riders that you're particularly looking forward to riding against, or just getting up and close and personal that you've sort of sat back and watched? Is there any one or two there that you've got your eye on?
Well, the champion, fellow Australian jockey Zach Purton is obviously someone that I've watched from Australia and really looked up to. So it'll be a pretty cool moment to sort of get to Hong Kong and potentially meet him, obviously, and be riding against him. So it'll be a really surreal moment to be in the flesh, Hutch.
Joel, the thing about those jocks too, like a Brett Preble, he really struggled for 2 years and was leaving 10 times. And then he turned into a superstar there and was very dominant and rode extremely well. Now, Zach struggled for 2 years and then turned it around. It's a learning experience. So if you get there and you're not quite as successful as you want to be, don't get disenchanted, because you can turn it around. Blake Sheen is a classic example. He got there and really struggled, didn't ride well, so it was mainly his fault, but he struggled. And then he turned it around. And if he had stayed there this year, he would have been number 2 there for sure. He was just...
Shane, he's flying. I've been watching him riding here in Australia. His riding skill has gone right through the roof. He has improved so much.
That's because he went to Hong Kong. No risk, 100%. He went to Hong Kong and he's dominating in Melbourne now, and everyone's... he's on par with Jamie Carr now. Jamie Carr's outstanding, I think.
Hey, Jye, just quickly before we let you go, and thanks for joining us once again. Obviously, you got some great rides going forward before you leave. Now, your stint in Hong Kong starts, is it after Melbourne Cup week? And if that is the case, if you got a ride in the Melbourne Cup, have you got one horse there that you think might be hard to beat or a good chance in it?
Yeah, I am heading off the day after Cup week, Hutch, which is a Sunday. So I at this stage, talking Melbourne Cups, I'm riding Grand Promenade for Kieran Maher and Dave Eustace in the Moonee Valley Cup tomorrow, with a view of staying on him for the Melbourne Cup. So fingers crossed he runs well, and that can take me into a path for this year's Melbourne Cup.
Righto, Hutch. Good talking with you, Jye. You came on our show not long ago, mate. Everyone likes you so much because you're a very humble human being, Shane. He's a very humble man.
What's that?
He's not.
Shane Dye doesn't know what humble is.
I just tell it how it is.
HUMBLE, Shane. Look it up in the dictionary. We're hoping you do great over there in Hong Kong. And, mate, you've got the whole world in front of you, and you're a champion young man, as we all know here in Australia. All the best, buddy.
Appreciate that. Thank you, Terry.
Okay, boys, let's get into the best bets coming up at Sha Tin on Sunday. What's the program looking like? We've got a Group 2 meeting to kick us off.
Mate, it's a great meeting on the weekend, Terry. This is a fantastic card, I think, particularly, and I'm really glad that we're highlighting, as we do on the Triple Trio, the last 3 races of the meeting, because it's an absolute beauty. We've got some of the better sprinters in Hong Kong stepping up against each other. This is my market for the Premier Bowl, which is I've got Lucky Swayness, a $2.80 favourite, or $2.87. Cordyceps 6 at $4.46. I've got Wellington in the market at $8.85. And then, but the sort of winning chances don't really end there. A horse like Lucky Patch, who won the race last year, is not the worst. He's at $16. And then Fantastic Treasure's the same price. But, I thought this was in pricing this race, Shane, I thought it was quite difficult, actually. It's interesting. Obviously, Lucky Sweynesse and Cordyceps 6 are both boom horses. This is Cordyceps, and Shane, you told everyone he could be vulnerable first up. He was, but now he's second up, and he's up to 1,200 metres, and he maps to get a great run.
He'll go better. He's definitely going to go better than he did first up. He's done it every preparation. Horses are creatures of habits. They repeat themselves year after year. I still don't know whether he can back Lucky Suez. But in saying that, Clint, this is him here when he quickened like a really good horse this day. Geez, he looked good. In saying that, I read a story this morning on the South Morning
China Post.
Yeah. And the statistics of these horses that win this race, going into this race coming up, it's terrible, Clint. Favourites don't win it. It's got a really bad history of throwing up not favourites, and the horses that win that race normally don't repeat in this race, which is a little bit of a worry for me. I've got him on top. He'll start less than 280, Clint. If you want to give me 280 now, I'll take it. Simple as that. He's got gate 11, but for some unknown reason, which we don't get in Hong Kong, there's actually not a lot of pace in this race, right? Normally there is. So he should be able to come across, even though last start he was flat early. I'm sure Zach will dig him out of the gates and get him up there. And he showed it in his trial the other day, trialled extremely well. He could even lead or sit second or third in the race. Like, you go through the race, what's going to lead? Computer Patch, well, they're riding him off the pace. Master 8 could lead. But outside that, mate, there's no pace.
Courier Wonder and Lucky Sweynesse, Zach will be happy enough to lead. But punters markets and what frame your own market and what you'd actually offer are two different things, Shane. But yeah, I mean, I think you've got to respect. I'm pretty happy with where I have that as it sits, and I agree with Shane. He'll start shorter, but I won't be on him if he does. That's the difference. But I think with regard to that South China article that you read as well, Shane, they haven't had a horse in the mould of Lucky Sweynesse. A lot of those horses, most of the good sprinters aren't out for the Hong Kong Chief Executives Cup on the first day. They start their preparation later. With this instance, Manfred Mann, he knows he's got that right horse on the upward trajectory, and he needed to get his rating up. It was a perfect race for him fresh up with a lightweight. He still gets in here well weighted, even though he's had a gap between runs, and then he'll be perfectly placed. This is a long-term plan with this horse. He's been masterfully sort of placed or entered in terms of the program.
So it's a real read the play with these horses, Hutch.
I think this is an exception to the rule. There haven't been many in his mould that have had the rating he's had at the stage of his career he's at. And all that said, I think Cordyceps is a genuine contender against him. I don't think, on my figures and my ratings, there's not much between them at their best.
That horse first up, he sweated up, I see, around the chest a bit. Does he normally do that?
Oh, a lot of them can get very warm over there at that time of year, Terry. But he'll be a lot better, like Shane said, second up. But he's going to have to use him up a little bit, Zach, from that wide alley, I think. And it just depends. It depends who kicks up underneath him. But whichever way you cut it, Cordyceps is going to get the drop on him, and he's a pretty handy horse too.
Last start, he was used early in that race. Lucky Suez, he couldn't keep up early. He had to dig him to be third for the first furlong. He really dug him early. So I'm happy with the gate 11. He can come across at his own will and do what he wants. He'll be out of trouble. He'll just cruise across, whether he's in front with Courier Wonder, Master 8. What else was there? Computer Patch, but they seem to be riding him off the pace now. So I think he's the real deal, this horse. He's one of the better ones I've seen come along in a long time in Hong Kong.
It certainly looks that way. I mean, we haven't spoken about Wellington. What do we do with him, Shane? I mean, he's the best sprinter in Hong Kong at this as we sit at weight for age or level weights. He carries top weights. Under handicap conditions, he's got a bit against him. But something to remember, fresh, you said, Shane mentioned horses are creatures of habit. Apart from last year when he was injured, he was unbeaten fresh. His trial, Shane, was outstanding. Outstanding.
And he won his last 3 starts in group races last year and looked really good. He's done nothing wrong, and we hadn't even given him a mention. Naturally, he's going to be there somewhere. He'll be back a bit midfieldish, and he'll be running on. But he's got that 11 pounds with Lucky Suez, I think, which is quite a bit of weight, 11 pounds on a horse who is going to be running in the first three, who you know is going to quicken.
Well, he's 11 pounds, and I think that's about the amount that Lucky Sweynesse goes up for that last victory as well. So it's an interesting one. He does have to concede weight, bit of a gap between runs. But the other one that I want to mention, just as a sort of value run in the race, and I think he'll surprise a few people, and on my market, I reckon Fantastic Treasure just at the weights is a really interesting runner. It's his biggest test, 1,200. He's not up to this caliber just yet, but I just think under handicap conditions, Shane, he might be able to sneak into a minor spot.
He's definitely not the worst. He come home in 22.23, I think, the other day, if I remember correctly, Clint, to just win. His form is very good. He had a little bit of a dry spell last season, but there were reasons. He's going to be midfield to back, but he will get home. And with 115, he's not the worst. I can't see him beating the favourite, though.
No, but he did that. You mentioned that late sectional. He did that with 132. He drops 8.5 kilos. So with those horses with a good turn of foot, I know Mark Reed was big on it, and a lot of the bigs are. The horses with a good turn of foot, where they're the ones when they get the weight drop that can really elevate. So I think he'll run well.
Yeah, if you get the $2.80 off him, can you put something on for me too, Shane? I'm tending to go with you there, old son. Race number 9 is the Magpie Handicap over 1,200 metres. It's a class 3. Any magpies in Hong Kong? I didn't see any when I was there.
No, I don't think so. A lot of pigeons, though. A lot of pigeons. I could see you out there in the park one day feeding the pigeons,
Mate,
Terry, once you've had a bad day on the punt.
No, the way I go on the punt, I'll be catching the pigeons. I'll be having those as the main course. Don't worry about that. What are we doing in this race,
This is a cracking race. This is a beauty. Happy sharing Maduri Beauty lineup again. Beauty Tycoon, our old mate that we backed last start, who got the run of the race, probably gets the run of the race and goes up in grade. He can win again. And we're not going to talk a little bit about a horse by the name of Victor the Winner, who actually originally hailed from Victoria when he was trained as an unraced horse with Greg Urell and won well. Have a look at this win, Terry. He went to Hong Kong. He trialled very well down here. He sold it to overseas, and this was a very, very impressive performance. And of any runner in this race, Shane, this was, for me, the highest rate performance. He will take a lot of beating.
He is. He's trialled very well since then. I think he ran about 110-1 or something on the dirt, which is impressive. They don't normally run that. He looks good. This horse here in the green down the outside, he should have won last start for sure. He missed the start. Got an awkward gate. I know I like 14, but he'd probably go back. But when you got the two favourites, which are going to be Lightning Warrior, who looks very good, and also Victor the Winner up there, do you want to be giving them 10 lengths with this horse? He's not easy to ride, this horse. He's got the ability, and he's definitely going to be winning races. And here's this Lightning Warrior. He's looked good in trials, Clint.
One would assume Neil Cullen had something to do with this horse being sold. He rode it a couple of times in the UK, and this horse, of course, Neil did a lot of riding for Tony, and he's 3 from 3 in the UK. He's come out, he's trialled well. Geez, it's not easy to win. For those who don't know, about 5% of them win private purchases that have raced overseas in Hong Kong on their debut, but he's the kind of horse that will have a big amount of hype around him, and he could win it. But he's thrown him in a very, very strong, to my eye, Class 3 race over 1,200. There's a lot of horses in this race that are going to go on with it. My tip will be Victor the Winner. The one that's going to fly under the radar is going to be very backable again as Beauty Tycoon. And he's an interesting one because he competed on the same day, which was the 1st of October, National Day. He won his race on the same day that we saw Happy Sharing beat Maduri Beauty. And in terms of how they lined up, he's right on par. I think it was only a length worse, and now he drops £5 for that, and he maps to get a great run in behind. So, Shane mentioned those couple going forward, including Victor the Winner. If they overcook themselves just a little bit, Beauty Tycoon will be right on the back of them and run very well.
Shane, how's Matthew Purton going?
He's going all right at present. He's riding all right. He's riding winners. He's not popping up too much. He goes in and out of form, but he's okay. But Clint, I've got to agree with you. But Beauty Tycoon's going to get the perfect run. I'm just looking here at gate 3. But geez, this is a good class 3. Sometimes you get weak class 3s, but this is a very good class 3. I've got to go Victor the Winner too. The way he won first up from the gate, he should lead unless they really push forward with Lightning Warrior. And that's probably going to be the worst thing they can do if they take each other on. I don't think that'll happen.
Okay, let's go to the last race on the program. It's my favourite name race, the Cuckoo Handicap. It's a Class 3 handicap over 1,200 metres. Hutch, I feel a bit cuckoo when I leave the broadcast box on some days like I did yesterday at Ballarat.
You wouldn't have been out of place in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, Terry.
No, I could have starred, actually.
I'm sure of it. Well, this is another tough race. So it's a lot of these horses come out of one key race, and I actually want to ask Shane about a couple of things in this race because it's got me confused, and maybe sometimes when you talk to other punters or players, Terry can sort of help you see things a little more clearly. But look, I really like Galaxy Witness on this occasion, and I thought his run was okay. He settled a bit further back than ideal. He's actually near last in the yellow and red colours, but the horse widest of all is Golden Senior, and I think he was a better run even with the weight, so he's got to have a great chance in the race. I thought the Irishman was very disappointing. I don't want to be with him again. Zach gave him every possible, and he's drawn awkwardly. I don't know, Shane, and Silvestre was pretty gallant on speed. You talk about bunch finish, Terry. The problem is a lot of them line up here. But firstly, with Galaxy Witness, Shane, what was your take on his run? I came away, thought, well, I don't want to completely bar you because you're first up, and he's obviously going to be a horse that's going to keep going. But I was a touch disappointed in that run.
Yes, so was I. I thought he'd go a little bit better. But in saying that, I said before the race on the show that this was one of the hardest races on the day, and it was very open. Remember that? I just thought it was really open. I even mentioned the winner, the second horse, and they were 35s and 15s could win the race. This is the same tomorrow. This is a very, very open race. The best run in the race was the Golden Scenery. I believe that. But the problem you've got tomorrow in this race, it's the same. There's not a lot of pace. So when you look at it, you got Eson, who's going to 1,400 and must be a query at 1,400 going there the first time, gate 4. He'll come across. He could probably lead, but he's not going to go too fast. You've got Sylvester, gate 1. He's either going to lead with Purton or box seat. Now, outside that, there's really not too much pace. Like Silver Express has led before, but he's lost his gate speed and is better over a mile with it. He won't be. But you go through them, Oriental Smoke from gate 13, he'll be forward. It's a tricky race, this. I wouldn't be surprised if Galaxy Witness wins and improves and goes to the next level in this race. His first up run was good, but it wasn't great. It wasn't bad. But it's an open race, Clint. I'm with you. Anything can win it.
Yeah, and I think you brought up an interesting runner there, and because of that pace angle that you've mentioned, Shane, I want to talk a little bit more about him. And we haven't mentioned Oriental Smoke too much, but it's more Eason. He ran the best final 200 at the meeting in that fantastic treasure race. They went back with him that day because he drew outside. He's drawn gate 4. Alexi's on board. He can lead this race if he wants to. It was a surprisingly good run. Now, he ran better and he ran on, of course, as you've said many times, because he did no early work. But he doesn't have to do that, and he might get an easy enough time here. I don't see much pressure on him. If the 1,400's a query, he'll be one that I'd be willing to sort of take the chance with, because I think you'll get a very soft first half of the race if and for Alexi can pop
what
across.
What price will he be, Hutch?
He'll be decent odds, I would have thought. I think he'll be decent odds. I mean, you're going to get a reasonable price about anything you like in this race, because as Shane said, it's sort of a $5 the field. There's nothing that stands out in this race, to my eye anyway.
Are they the sort of races you like betting in, Shane, where you're getting value, but it's a hard one to try and select horses in?
I like Class 5s. I love Class 5s. No one likes them, but you always get long price winners, and you can find things there that are going all right. Passion, Fashion 2 weeks ago, like it was $8, $9, $10 or something, which was ridiculous. I priced him $3.50.
Best bets and plays, boys. So there's a bit of confidence here. Bit of confidence from you, Hutch.
Yeah,
Shane's got an inkling of a bit of confidence.
Well, look, I think,
of
course,
memory.
in the main race, I mean, we'll run through that firstly. In the main race, I think that obviously Lucky Sweetness will be tough to beat, but I think Cordyceps at the right price could easily be a play in that contest. One of the better bets of the day for me will be Victor the winner, and I think I'll be having a Quinella in that race with Beauty Tycoon. So those are a couple of plays that we've already sort of covered in the meeting. Earlier in the day, there's one or two that do interest me as well. TB, I'll just flick my screen back over and get that one for you. Just give me 1 second.
That's all right. Just keep flicking. Come on, flick.
No, One Voice. Thought One Voice will be very tough to beat. He ran, of course, into Beauty Tycoon last start, One Voice, and I thought he was, even from barrier 11, if he gets a half-decent spot in the race for Frankie Law and Vincent Ho, he's definitely a standout bet on the day.
RS?
One Voice wins race 2, race 3, I think, number 2. Got an awkward gate, but it shouldn't matter. It's a 1,400 metres. It's not a strong race. There's not many chances. There's only about 2 or 3 in it. Super Red Dragon, let me see. Perfect Peach raced well the other day, but they've got outside gates too, so he should be winning. He gets his chance. And I thought, let me see, race 6, not an easy race. There's a few chances, but Powerful Wings gets its chance from the gate, but there is a few chances in that race. So those two, One Voice and Powerful Wings.
Powerful Wings was one of ours last time, TB.
Yep.
Should have won too. Made our Sid file, and we've got a couple of those. One Voice and Powerful Wings were both a part of our sweet defeat, so give them strength. We can keep the winners rolling in.
We'll be cheering hard. Okay, don't forget the big competition drawn on the 28th of October. Zach Purton with his 5 premiership wins. You can get these collector's cards. You simply go to the Triple Trio on YouTube, or you can go to tag at Hutchie's Honkers. That's going to be announced on the 28th of October. Any final parting words before?
No final parting words. Good luck on the weekend, and let's hope we have great racing in Hong Kong, and good luck in the Cox Plate. It'll be an interesting race with Animo and, of course, El Bodegon. And I don't know if you've looked at it, Shane. What were your thoughts of the Cox Plate just quickly before we go?
I don't know the European horse very well, Clint. Can you tell me about him? Can he win or what? That's what decides it for me.
He's got form around Verdani, a lot of Group 1 form around him. He's not very big, Shane, but by all accounts, he's arrived in unbelievable order. Ollie worked in the other day. Little bit of rain about will be played right into his strengths, and if he probably brings his A game, he looks the danger to Animo. I think he'll shorten in the market anyway.
Well, Animo's the one to beat, but is he a $2 chance? I don't.
He's out to $3 now, Shane.
Is he
out to $3? Yeah, they put up the wrong price early. Buddy.
I said to someone the other day I'd lay him all day in a Cox Plate at 15 a week before the race. I'm not saying he can't win. He should win. He's the favourite, and he's been dominant, but he wasn't as dominant as I thought he would be last start. But he's got James on. He's got Cummings training, and what else do you want? And he's racing well.
Mate, he looked very fit. Like, I'm the only one saying that. Everyone's going, you're an idiot. You wouldn't know what you're talking about. But he looked very fit in the mounting yard, and he was ribbed up after the race big time.
Just like us tonight, Terry. I think that'll do us.
Okay. Thanks, guys, for having me on the show.
This is a very sad day, mate. They tell me the Chosen One's coming back next week.
Yeah, Shiny Top. He's on his way back in. You would have missed him by now.
Mate.
He's been playing cricket. He's been doing all sports. He's just unbelievable. And he started out with Dr. Turf and I at the Moonee Valleys at Friday, and we used to put shit on him all the time on air, and he didn't even know we were doing it to him, and he's just risen up. Hey,
we still do that. Put shit on him, and he doesn't realise.
Good. I'm enjoying it. Thanks for having me, boys. Hope you enjoyed the program. See you all next week.
Good on you, Shane.